Morning. Morning, everybody. So early for people to want to join the live. Hey, Mina, how are you liking the book? Are you enjoying it? I really hope you are. I hope you are. Oof. Hey, everybody. Morning, morning, morning. How's everyone's morning so far? Why can't I get this back on? Hello? Come on. There we go. Just meh? Why? Because the snow? It's very, very snowy where Liz is. Very, very snowy. Too snowy, some might say. Morning, Aisa. What's everyone drinking this morning? What's everyone's weather this morning? Snow plus other nonsense. Ooh, anything I should know about? Hello, hello. Good morning, good morning. Lori, I am very much hoping to finish orders today so I can open that box. I just bought a $17 salad. $17? That feels like a lot. In Minnesota? Am I crazy? Is that a lot? Sounds like New York City prices. Doesn't it? Doesn't that feel like New York City prices? I don't know. Morning, Anya. Morning, Tori. Hey, Tori, how are you feeling? I DM'd you, but I haven't had a chance to see if you responded. I might make a chicken sandwich for breakfast. Meh. Go for it. Just ate some banana bread French toast. Hey, Des. That sounds amazing. I haven't had French toast in a while. Peppermint white chocolate mocha, 55 and sunny. I mean, that sounds good all around. I wanted to try Crisp and Green. I think this would be last time. Crisp and Green, is that like a new store? Or a new salad like place? Oh my goodness. Sorry, I'm yawning. I wasn't even up that late last night. We went to bed like solidly at like 12:30. I mean, like, to sleep at 12:30. Got in bed to read at like midnight. Yeah. Yep, a new salad place. It does look good. No, maybe it will be good. Hey, yeah, the rain apparently is. That's what I said, Rosie. I walked out and I was like, it's a gloomy gust of a day. It looks like it rained already here today. The ground is definitely wet out there. We're having a super fun mental health day week here. Aw, babe. Shelly, text me when this is over. What's everyone else doing today? Anything interesting? I am really, really, really hoping to finish orders today and then put up all the polls for March. Hey, NB, hey, Cindy. Those are my goals for today. I really, really want to be done with this one. I really want to do that. That would be ideal. Allergy shots. Oh, God, that sounds truly horrific. As we all know, apparently I don't handle needles well enough to do literally anything. I'm okay. I'm a little less tired than I was yesterday. Just had to force Elliot on the bus, Joy. Kids, man, am I right? Am I right? I will likely finish the book today, but I don't want it. Can we talk about how that's like such a compliment to me that you're finishing it so fast? Because that means that it's like a quick, enjoyable read. If anyone on here is new and doesn't know what Mina's talking about, I wrote a book called The Prince of Oregon, and she just got it in the mail 2 days ago, and she's gonna finish it today, and she's a mom, which means she's busy. So I'm taking that as a huge compliment that she is able to finish my book in like 3 days. That's a huge win. I love that. That makes me really happy. That doesn't make me happy, Amanda. Why? I know, and B, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I just have to get through all of these orders and stuff first so I can record it. I need someone to give me the cliff notes of how to do Audible. I had a very emotional day. I love reading that. Aww. I really, really love that, Anya. I'm so glad. Anya got hers yesterday. Hey, Renee, how's it shaking? You're about to go to the mailbox? What's there? Not that I ever doubted it would be great, but it truly is awesome. Oh, thank you, Mina. I'm so glad that you genuinely like it. That makes me really, really, really happy. You know, like, it's anybody technically could write a book if they wanted to. Does anyone know where Becca is? I hope it's a certain book, Renee. Anyone can technically write a book, but like getting people to read it and enjoy it is a whole different sitch. I sent her a message and I was talking to her this morning. I know she's up, but I know those kids are home because of snow. So maybe she's dealing with some drama. Wow, that's a little humble, Sasha. Anyone can write a book. No, I mean, technically, you know what I mean? I could absolutely not write a book. Yes, you could, Cindy. I mean, technically, right? You might not want to. That might not be your goal for life, but it was my goal. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely, like, this has been my goal my whole life. So this is kind of a thing for me, but like getting people to read it and enjoy it is the other thing, right? You know? That's the other part of it. Taking you on my walk to the mail. Yeah, I hope your book is in there. Sorry for the slurping sound. I really needed the coffee. Good morning, Ray. Who all has their copy so far and who all still waiting on their copies to come? Nope, not even technically. It takes more imagination and ability to make thoughts and words. Yeah, that's true. That's true. What do we think's going on here? Can you guys see this? What do you think's happening here? Do it, right? Or do it, Jen. I would love that. Mine's here in your inscription made me cry. Aw, but I love you. Whose all inscriptions made them cry? I have a digital Kindle, but I have refused to read it. I want it in my hands. I understand that. Just one of the ones from Moms and Book Club. Slime Choose Your Own Adventure comes with dice. I mean, that would be funny. That would be a lot of fun. That would be really, really fun. Mine made me laugh, but I love you. I mean, yeah, but you know you're getting more than one, and you got written into the book. Do it, Jen. I support. I'll buy it. I know, Amanda. I can't, for the life of me, figure out why some people's are coming quicker than others, or what. I literally, like I said, the mail right now is just elusive to me. Hey, Kristen, because Mina's is still marked as if I haven't even brought it to the post office. That's what it says when you track Mina's. Right now it says awaiting collection. Awaiting collection. She's almost done reading it. How can it be awaiting collection? It's my first time at book club. What are we reading? We are reading Land of Stories, book 6. It makes no sense, Cindy. Remember how we only got one boy's birthday card in there, or the other one's in the mailbox was mailed? Yeah, it makes no sense. It's annoying. I know, it's not showing as delivered, so they can't review it. It's stupid. Mina's Magical Fairy. Yeah, I wish. Like, it just emailed me today that my order from you is delayed. I know. It keeps doing that. It keeps trying to tell people that I'm delayed in sending them their orders. I'm like, I am not delayed in sending you your order. It's awful. Book mail is so weird. I sent 2 packages to my friend at the same time one day. It makes no sense. Just a package from Sasha. Yay! Yeah. Lauren, actually, this is USPS, which is also messed up. But it's just a pain in the buttocks, if you ask me. It is Delulu, Jen. It is Delulu. It was, yes, Anya, every day. Anya, you need to read Addie LaRue, which I'm reading right now. Well, I guess no. Maybe you need to read Midnight Library. Maybe that's what it's more like. I don't know. Anyway, I get the inside scoop from my dad and come back, yeah. But, I mean, I don't know that it's going to fix it for us, unfortunately. 51st book clubs.
What?
Oh, Anya was just making a joke that it was her first day at book club.
51st book clubs, like 51st dates.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Your coffee is over there.
I think you did.
You're welcome. Secret fiance is so fresh, so clean. He just got out of the shower. So handsome.
Whoa.
Whoa. Oh, thank you, Lauren. That's very sweet. Yeah, it's really weird. Naisa, Cinny, and Mina's all say they haven't been shipped, but they're all arrived already. Can I share? Yes, of course, Rosie. We would love that. I had a dream I forgot my Nespresso at someone else's house. What was it there? I don't know. That's really funny, Grace. I had a dream that there was a commercial on TV about Lin-Manuel Miranda living in the clouds. I did. His name is handsome. Oh my gosh, that's amazing, Rosie. Yes, I had a dream about a TV commercial. Like, I wasn't even dreaming that I knew that Lin-Manuel Miranda was living in the clouds. I dreamed that there was a television commercial telling me he was living in the clouds.
And what was the song?
They weren't selling, well, they were like it was just like an advertisement for his greatness. Maybe he was up for some kind of award or something. But basically it was like, everyone else lives here, and then it showed New York City, but he lives here. And then it like showed it went and then there were clouds, and above the clouds was a little tower, and Lynn was up there writing his stuff. I'm so twisted.
Oh my gosh.
How is that possible, Tressa?
You love Lynn
I do.
so much.
Yes, I do love Lynn so much. It's true. Lin-Manuel Miranda writes directly to my soul in a similar way to Chris Coffer. Oh, that's a bummer, Tressa. I just want to spend 24 hours in his brain. I don't know that any of us could handle it. Oh, I'm so glad you love it, Renee. I don't know. There's a meme out there that's been around since Hamilton that said, maybe, Shelley, maybe, or Rapunzel, maybe he's writing an adaptation of Rapunzel. That is true. Lynn is not on Moana 2. Yeah, they got the girls from the Bridgerton musical to write that. Not yet, Lauren, but it is on my list to consider.
That's a weird choice.
I know, right?
Based on my niece, her watching habits of that movie, it seemed like he did a pretty good job.
He did a fantastic job. It was phenomenal.
I don't know why they would change it.
I think,
Maybe he didn't want to do it.
yeah, it's possible that he was just not able to make the timeline they were looking for, because they turned it around pretty quick.
Feels like music's important enough to those movies that you probably want to make that work.
I agree. It is odd. There, to my knowledge, and someone else can correct me, but to my knowledge, there's never been a Disney film with a sequel or even something in the same property that has changed writers unless one passed away. I think that's the only reason in the past that there's ever been a changeover.
Do you think Elton John worked on Lion King too?
I don't know. That's a great question. It was great though. Lion King 2's music is a bop.
Never even seen the movie.
The movie's okay. You know what? I'm actually not a poetry fan. There's something about my brain that cannot do poetry. I don't do well with poetry. I feel like other than Shakespeare, it always feels forced and contrived to me.
What about Robert Frost?
Robert Frost is good, but I don't want it in large quantities. I just want like a poem here and there.
Does anybody want poetry in large quantities?
Yeah, people buy books of poetry to read them, and that's
But-
great.
But even then, it's more for like every once in a while.
Maybe.
People read poetry books just all the way through. Like
I think
their
so.
novels. That's insane.
I don't know.
I
I mean,
don't think
Autumn
it's-
wrote one.
What?
Autumn wrote a poetry book.
Yeah, but I feel like poetry is meant more as like a meditation book.
I know. It is usually the other way around, Lauren, but I am a huge Shakespeare fanatic. I have been doing Shakespeare my whole life. Like I love Shakespeare. I could read sonnets by Shakespeare all day and never get tired of it and analyze his brilliance. But then I read like other poetry and I'm like, ugh. Like we were just reading One in a Millennial recently, and she has a poem at the beginning of every section, and they all, while they were funny in text, like the context was funny, the writing of it, that's good to know, Renee. The writing of it always felt forced and contrived to me.
Oh, I thought they all sucked.
That's what I'm saying. Like the poetry didn't feel like it flowed properly.
She's not a good poet.
And if you, most of the time, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but my opinion is if you cannot read a poem aloud and have it flow, then maybe it wasn't meant to be a poem. You know what I mean? And maybe that is only because I love Shakespeare and all of Shakespeare's works were meant to be performed. Like everyone always has this, like they're like, oh man, like I can't read Shakespeare, it just like doesn't work. And it's like, well, we're taught Shakespeare incorrectly in school. When you're in junior high and high school and they are teaching you Shakespeare, 9 times out of 10 it's being taught wrong, and for a number of reasons. The first reason is it wasn't meant to be read that way, right? Like, and the second reason is it's taught as highbrow, and it's not highbrow. And so it's being pitched at these 12-year-olds as if it's like the be-all end-all, so fancy-pantsy, you know, and in actuality, it's neither fancy nor was it ever meant to be the be-all end-all. It's meant to be the equivalent of like a bro comedy. Like we're talking like Wedding Crashers, like Knocked Up, like it's that kind of comedy. It's the lowest lowbrow, very slapstick and body and all that. And I think if we were presenting the jokes properly to young people, they would like them more. My teachers pointed out all the bro stuff to us. Luckily, it made it more interesting. Yeah, it does make it more interesting when you know like the humor behind it. There's a lot of like really great jokes in Shakespeare. Like there was a time when my sister was in A Comedy of Errors when she was in high school, and I went to see it, and I'm sitting in the audience and watching them perform it, and I was the only person laughing. That's not an exaggeration. So much so that when I went to see her backstage afterwards, the cast members thanked me for laughing because all the other nights they didn't get laughs, and so they genuinely thought they weren't like funny, but it's just that the other students there didn't get the jokes, you know, and I was already in college and learning it, you know. Maybe that's why Shakespeare bore the crowd out of me. It probably is, Cindy. Yeah, Jen, you should read it aloud. All Shakespeare should be read aloud. It definitely makes a difference, in my opinion. We're gonna smoothie dance. Salvage the sticker from the top of the wrapping before I realized I had. Of course, Renee. I like Poe and it explains so much about my Black Hoodie era. Yeah. We acted out in high school and it helped so much. Agreed, it does. Acting it out does help, yeah. Or just like having a different person read each character even helps. We're gonna smoothie dance though. Let's smoothie dance and then we'll read. Amazing teacher for English in high school. She did a great job, and I was thinking this morning while I was reading that I should probably like try to get her address and or mail her a copy of my book to our school so that she knows that like her work wasn't in vain and that I did end up writing, because like she's been telling me that I should be a writer since I was in 11th grade, and I kind of want to send her a book and be like, I did it. Congrats, you were right. You know, I don't know. So that might be, it might feel good as a teacher to be like, I was right.
Why don't you do it?
I think I should, yeah.
Do you remember her name?
Yeah. Her name is Erin Topping.
Is she retired?
What?
Is she retired?
She's not retired. She still teaches there.
Oh, we need that.
She's the head of the English department now.
So she'll probably show it off in class because she gets so excited.
She probably would be excited. That sucks, Anya. Ugh. Yeah. You know, I would never want to like force my book on anybody, just like sending it to them without them asking. But I feel like a teacher who told you should write is the one time when it like, you're like, yeah, actually that works. You should just surprise them with that and be like, or I could just bring it to her. I could just walk up and be like, I made something.
Who are you? Leave me alone.
I just saw her last year. We got brunch last year. She knows what I look like.
You got brunch last year and you haven't told her you wrote a book?
Well, I didn't know last year at the time when we got brunch. It was like this time last year.
No, I'm saying, why haven't you told her?
I don't know. I'm nervous.
Close enough to get brunch.
What if it sucks?
Well, that would be hilarious. It's just like, I hate it.
I know. I don't want. She reads a lot, and she does read a lot of rom-coms. So that's why I know that like she would want to read
You're not
it.
telling her about it because you think she's gonna tell you it's bad.
Yes. I don't want her to judge me. I don't want her to be like, Sasha, you messed up.
Do it. Send it to her.
A trivia. That's interesting.
Coward.
Send it to her, you coward. Patreon said book club time now just to get weird. Why do I feel like I left my slime out? I don't know. Maybe you did. All right. So let's get to reading. We're going to read chapter 9, The Scariest Villain of All. Whoa. If she judges you, she's not the... Yeah, that's true. If she judges you, she's the one who taught you. Where can I order your book and what's the plot? Thank you for asking, Lauren. My book is available on the app that sounds like a rainforest that starts with an A. It's also on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited. And it's also here on TikTok. I'm working on getting it up on my regular website for everyone to have as well. Jury duty mail is not as fun as Sasha mail. True. The plot of my book is that there is a prince whose family owns Astoria, Oregon. It's a tiny town on the northernmost coast of Oregon. And that town was not purchased by the United States with the rest of Oregon. That's true. I didn't make that part up. And so in my book, the prince of the country who owns Astoria, Oregon comes to reclaim his land. And that is the start of the book. So, yeah. You can order it at a ton of places. It's a rom-com. It's PG-13. You can read it with your teenage daughter or your grandma and be comfortable that they will not be upset. But yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know and might not have heard the other times that I've talked about it, a lot of the history that I put, yes, it is linked in my bio to the AZ. Yeah. A lot of the history that I put in the book is actually true. I just changed the country because in actuality it was owned by England and then Canada, but I didn't want to use real countries because they have real monarchs and I didn't want to use real people. But it really was owned by Canada even after the United States owned the rest of Oregon, which is super weird. And if anyone is reading, one of my editors actually tried to fact check me on the time period and stuff like that. I was like, no, legit, I pulled these dates directly from the Astoria, Oregon website. So if it's wrong, it's in their history books already. We're using their dates. And also there's stuff about the printing press in my book, and the dates of the first printing press showing up in Oregon are all legit dates that I pulled from real articles and things like that. So I didn't make those numbers up. Those are all real dates. I love your book because every time I have a question, you answer it. What was the question? What did I just randomly answer, Grace? I love knowing that. That's fun. What's your new book about? I saw your packing video. It is a rom-com that takes place. It is historically accurate. Well, it's historically accurate except that I made up Whitelock, right? But if you pretend that Whitelock is a real country, then yeah, the rest is correct. The book is a rom-com about a prince who comes to take back his land. Yes. Yes. The people living in Astoria, Oregon think they're American. Why is he traveling like that? And then I flip the page. Oh, that's right. Yeah, within the book. So that's another thing that is true. So, oh my gosh, you guys, I forgot to tell a lot of you. You know how we were talking about getting Amanda Matta to read the book because I used a lot of information from her about the royals in the book? She responded to me yesterday. She saw our video, she saw all the tags, and she wants to read the book. How exciting is that? Oh my gosh. Rosie, can we get them a copy somehow to take around there? Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. She messaged me. It's PG-13, double T. It's PG-13. There are curse words in it. So Amanda's gonna have our book, and I hope she loves it. And we'll see, what happens. She and I started talking about that yesterday. Hey, Melinda. And hopefully she'll read it and she'll love it, and she'll tell everyone who likes royal stuff that I wrote a book about a prince. That would be amazing, Rosie. That would be amazing. So yeah, it was really exciting to hear that she wanted to read it. I was shocked, and she was just like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I don't do DMs. And I was like, same. So hey, Becca, it took her seeing our video to even know that I had DM'd her, and she was like, I would love to read your book. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so exciting. I want her to read it so bad. Because I feel like a lot of people who follow an account about the royals would like a book about a fictional prince. You know what I mean? Like there's at least a little bit of a Venn diagram overlap there, right? I feel like there has to be some people who would like that. I don't know. I'm not saying like all 1 million of her followers want to read it. Is Astoria cute? Do I need to drive there? That's debatable depending on your opinion. Maybe you want to read the book first. I described Astoria in the book the way it felt to me. Astoria has absolutely stunning views, and some places in it are cute. I can show you pictures. It is a difficult place to live. I will tell you that. It's a difficult place to live. And the people in Astoria are interesting. Yes, Tressa, do that. I'll pay for that. I have family in Oregon trying to get them to bring the book to Astoria. That would be amazing. Cindy, can you imagine? I'm still trying to contact, when I told my cousin your book was set there, she said, why? Yeah. It's set there for a reason though. Like it's a good reason. You know what I mean? It's a good reason. It's set there because when I got to Oregon and I found out about that history, I live in Oregon and I'm excited for mine to come in the mail. Oh yes, I sent yours, Heather. When I got to Astoria and I heard about the history of Astoria, I was like, that sounds like a romance novel. And everyone was like, you should write it. I was like, maybe. She grew up in the OC, so she knows what you mean. Oh, yeah. All right, so let's read. Does anyone have any last questions about my book before we jump into this book? It's available all the places, including Kindle Unlimited. So if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can have it for free. And apparently Kindle Unlimited has a 30-day trial. So, like a 30-day free trial or whatever. So you could download Kindle Unlimited, have it for free, and then cancel it if you really wanted to. Yeah, we haven't read anything yet, Becca. Don't stress. Okay, cool. So we are reading Chapter 9 of Land of Stories, Book 6, The Scariest Villain of All. Connor and his friends charged down the Calvin Coolidge Express tunnel as Rusty led them deeper through the abandoned subway. The homeless man ran so fast that he could barely keep his flashlight steady, but even in the dark, Rusty knew that this tunnel like the back of his hand. Eventually, they arrived at the construction site of a small subway platform that had never been finished. Ladders, tools, and paint buckets had remained untouched since the project was halted in the 1920s. You see that platform above? See that hatch above the platform? Rusty asked and aimed his flashlight at a circular door in the ceiling. Climb through it and it'll take you into the lower level of the library. Thanks for bringing us here, Rusty, Connor said. If we're able to save my sister, it'll be all because of you. I just wish I had some way to repay you. Yeah, well, it's been a long time since I felt useful, the homeless man said with a smile. That's all the thanks I need. Good luck finding your sister, kid. Connor and his friends shook Rusty's hand and climbed onto the unfinished platform. Jack retrieved a ladder and positioned it directly below the hatch. He climbed up the ladder and attempted to open it, but the door wouldn't budge. It's stuck, he called down. Yeah, well, it's been nearly a century since it was open, Rusty said. It may need a good push. Taking his advice, Jack pressed his back against the hatch and pushed against it with all his might. The door fell open with a loud crunch and pieces of wood fell from the ceiling. Opening the hatch punched a large hole through the floorboards and carpet above it. Jack climbed through the hole and then helped the others through the floor to the library's lower level. The gang emerged inside a long room with colorful walls. It was filled with tiny bookshelves and miniature tables and chairs. Paintings and stuffed animals of classic literary characters smiled down at them from every corner. "Oh my," Red said. "I didn't realize this was a library for dwarves." "This is the Children's Center," Bree said. "There's a lot more than this." "How big is this library?" Goldilocks asked. "Well, it's 646,680 square feet to be exact," Bree said. "There are 4 levels with over 40 rooms, and it's open to the public." Her friends were surprised that she had the information so readily available. "How do you know that?" Red asked. "The plane had Wi-Fi," Bree said with a shrug. Any knowledge about the structure was useful to them, but Connor's stomach filled with knots once he heard how big the library was. Whoever had taken his sister had plenty of corners to lurk in. "Well, should we split up and just look for her?" Jack asked. "No, let's stay together," Connor said. "I don't want to give Alex's kidnapper a chance to knock one of us off. Sorry, I've seen too many horror movies. We'll search each level, 1 room at a time, until we find her." Connor's friends nodded and followed him out of the Children's Center. If they had any doubts about Alex's whereabouts, they quickly subsided as they stepped into the hallway. All the walls and floors of the library were covered in thick vines and ivy. The plants were covered in vibrant flowers that bloomed as Connor and his friends passed them. Exotic butterflies fluttered through the air, blossom to blossom. In just a matter of hours, Alex had enchanted this national landmark so that it resembled an ancient temple in the middle of the jungle. "Strange," Jack observed. "It reminds me of when the Enchantress attacked the Eastern Kingdom and covered it in plants, just like these." "Well, let's pray that's where the similarities end," Goldilocks said. They walked in a tight group as they explored the lower level of the library. Jack gripped his axe, Goldilocks drew her sword, and Red clung to her can of Febreze as they went. With all their eyes pulled together, there wasn't an inch of the lower level they weren't scanning. Once the lower level had been searched, they slowly moved up the stone staircase to the first floor. They searched behind every pillar and beneath every archway of the entrance hall. They looked through the aisles of merchandise in the gift shop and under all the desks of the state-of-the-art education center, but found nothing out of the ordinary besides the vines and ivy. They journeyed to the next floor of the spacious structure and searched all the galleries, corridors, and research rooms. Once that level had been inspected, they climbed the stairs to the top level. They found portraits and murals, candelabras and statues, but not a trace of Alex anywhere. Soon there was only 1 room left to search. Connor and his friends gathered at the door and each took a deep breath before going inside. This was it. The Rose Main Reading Room was the largest and most recognizable room in the New York Public Library. Although Connor and Bree had never seen it in person, they instantly remembered seeing it in movies and television. The room was filled with dozens of hanging chandeliers and 2 rows of tables. The high ceiling was made of beautiful wood carvings that framed painted murals of cloudy skies. The walls were lined with arched windows and 2 levels of bookshelves. However, all the shelves were empty because the books were floating magically through the air like 1,000 balloons. At the far end of the long room, between the rows of tables, they found Alex asleep on the floor. As soon as he laid eyes on her, Connor ran to his sister's side and scooped her up in his arms. Her face was paler than he had ever seen it, and her skin felt as cold as ice. "Alex, it's me, it's Connor," he said. "We found you, and we've come to take you home." Connor brushed the hair out of her face, but Alex didn't open her eyes. "Alex, can you hear me?" he asked. He gave her a gentle nudge, but his sister didn't open her eyes or move a muscle. Connor listened to her chest to make sure she was breathing and then checked her pulse. "She's alive, but barely," he said. "Well, why isn't she responding?" Bree asked. "She must be in some sort of spell," Connor said and tapped the side of her face. "Alex, you have to fight this off so that we can help you. Who's doing this to you? Who's making you enchant things and attack people?" "She won't wake up unless I tell her to wake up." Connor, Bree, Jack, Goldilocks, and Red turned to the other side of the room and discovered they weren't alone. A woman in a long black coat with red lips and horns like a ram appeared out of thin air. "Marina!" Goldilocks said. "It's you. You're the one who's behind all of this." Just the sight of her filled Red with rage, and she charged toward the witch with her fists raised. "You no good, grass-eating, utter-sucking, hoof-stomping, wedding-crashing, friend-stealing piece of fertilizer!" she yelled. "How dare you take my fiancé and my friend? I'm going to rip those hideous horns off your—" Marina waved her hand like she was swatting at a fly, and Red went soaring across the room and landed on a second level of bookshelves. Red used the railing to get to her feet, but the metal bars magically wrapped around her body and held her in place. Marina waved her hands at the others, and they all flew to the railing beside Red, so they were also restrained by its metal bars. Connor tried to hold on to his sister as he was forced force through the air, but she slipped out of his arms and rolled back onto the floor. I must say, I am impressed, Marina said. I figured you might follow us, but I never expected you to make it inside the building. We know what you're doing here, Bree said. We know about the bridge between the worlds and the witches plan to cross through it and conquer the other world. But you won't get away with it, Connor said. You and the witches won't stand a chance against this world. Well, of course not, Marina said. That's why we cursed your sister. Now that we're in control of her powers, dominating the other world will be much easier. By the way, Alex, it's time to wake up. Our guests will be arriving soon. Alex levitated off the floor and onto her feet. She opened her eyes and they began to glow lightning. Her hair rose above her head and flickered like the flames of a slow-motion fire. Once she was awake, all the books floating through the air suddenly dropped and rained down on the reading room. What have you done to her? Connor yelled. Isn't it obvious? Marina asked. We cursed her, just like we cursed the enchantress. What are you talking about? He asked. Esmea wasn't cursed. She became the enchantress because she was greedy, selfish, and evil. Every woman has an evil enchantress inside her. All it takes is a little curse to bring it out, Marina said. Your sister's no exception. I don't believe you, Connor said. What kind of magic could do such a thing? Well, actually, it's an interesting story, Marina said. You see, years and years and years ago, the Snow Queen and the Sea Witch discovered the other world around the same time as the fairies. While the late fairy godmother and the fairy council traveled back and forth, spreading stories, granting wishes in the other world, the witches got together and formed a plan to conquer it. The Snow Queen and the Sea Witch weren't powerful enough to do it on their own, so they cursed little Esmea with dust made from the glass of an evil magic mirror. It got in Esmea's eyes and lungs and cursed her to feel anger and sorrow and jealousy tenfold, turning her into the enchantress we all remember today. The Snow Queen and the Sea Witch were planning to use Esmea as a weapon against the other world, but sadly, Esmea perished before they had the chance. Once the enchantress was dead, the Snow Queen and the Sea Witch set their sights on Alex. After a couple of attempts to curse her, they realized how much stronger she was than Esmea. It took over 10 times the amount of dust for the curse to even stick. That's why Alex destroyed the witch's brew and attacked the fairy council, Connor said, understanding for the first time. She wasn't having difficulty controlling her powers because she was overwhelmed. She was being cursed. Such a good little detective, the witch said. Luckily, the Snow Queen and the Sea Witch learned from their mistakes with Esmea, and this time they hexed the dust so they'd have control over whoever ingested it. Now, your sister, one of the most powerful fairies to ever grace the known worlds, is a creature of rage, torment, and despair. Connor and his friends were livid. They fought against the metal bars restraining them, but it was no use. You still won't win, he shouted. It's going to take much more than my sister and a bunch of witches to take over the other world. We have armies and weapons you can't even dream of. They'll wipe you out the moment they step inside this library. Marina rolled her eyes as if she had heard this spiel multiple times. Oh, yes, I know about all of those, she said. Unfortunately for you, I've planned accordingly. You see, the other witches have no idea what kind of world they're about to walk into. The other world was vastly different when the Snow Queen and the Sea Witch first discovered it. They don't realize how advanced it's become. The witches and your sister are merely pawns in my plan to weaken the armies of the other world. Once they've been wounded, my own army will come and finish them off. What army? Connor asked. The witch threw her head back and roared with laughter. Don't tell me you haven't figured that part out yet, she said. Goldilocks gasped. Connor, she's talking about the literary army. She's going to bring them through the bridge too. That's why they were lingering around the Northern Palace. It wasn't a scare tactic. They're waiting for her. Of all the possibilities Connor had predicted over the last week, this outcome had completely escaped him. Apparently, they would need to travel into the fairy tale world after all. The literary army was coming to them. It's still not enough to defeat the other world, Connor said. Besides, both sides are just going to keep fighting until there's nothing left. Yes, And perhaps that's been my plan all along, Marina said. The fairies have all been turned to stone. Soon the witches will be slaughtered. The armies of the other world will be defeated. The literary army will be destroyed in the process. That leaves both worlds entirely defenseless and ready for new leadership. Leadership from someone like me. Connor glared at her with the most hateful gaze he had ever seen and sent anyone in his life. He couldn't believe one person was capable of so much manipulation. Millions of innocent people are going to die because of you, and there won't be a drop of blood on your hands, he said. I'd say you're a monster, but that's not even fair to monsters. Morena was tickled by the notion, and a sinister smile spread across her face. I may not be the most powerful enemy you've made, but I am certainly the smartest, and that does make me the scariest of them all, she said. A small clock over the entryway struck midnight, and the Rose Main reading room began to vibrate. Well, it's been such a thrill catching up, but I'm afraid you'll all have to be quiet now, Morena said. I don't want you spilling any secrets to our guests. The witch snapped her fingers, and the metal bars confining them snaked around their mouths. Connor and his friends looked at one another in panic, but there was nothing they could do. Whether they liked it or not, the bridge between the other worlds was about to appear. What started off as a light rumbling sensation quickly escalated into a thunderous tremor. The room shook so violently that the windows shattered and the walls began to crack. The chandelier swung and like wrecking balls before crashing to the floor. The tables slid and slammed into one another like bumper cars, and many of the bookshelves collapsed. Suddenly, an enormous ghostly orb descended from the ceiling. It glided through the air and landed on the far end of the room. The orb stretched into a wide oval and gained color and depth, as if invisible paintbrushes were painting it. With every passing second, the image of a vast forest became clearer and clearer, and soon the image was so vibrant it didn't look like a painting of a forest, but a doorway into one. The witches of the fairy tale world peered through the opening and took their first steps into the other world. Arborist, Tarantuline, Serpentina, Charcoline, and Rat Mary led the charge as they were followed by hundreds of other grotesque women. Some of them flew into the library on broomsticks, some galloped on hooved feet, and some crawled inside on all fours. A wave of salty seawater spilled into the library and swirled around the room like a living serpent. The sea witch rode in on a wave into the other world, perched on her coral sleigh, which was pulled by a school of sharks. A sudden chill filled the air, and the Snow Queen emerged through the bridge aboard a sleigh pulled by two ferocious polar bears. Your Excellencies, Marina said with a shallow bow. I'm so glad you both successfully made it through the bridge, and just as I promised, I found the Bailey girl and cursed her with the dust from the magic mirror. With the power at our disposal, the other world will be ours in no time. The Snow Queen and the Sea Witch were shocked that Marina had pulled it off. Well done, Morena, the Sea Witch said. I have to admit, we are pleasantly surprised by your competence. The witches were so excited to finally be in the other world that they didn't even notice the people tangled to the railing above them. Connor and his friends tried to warn the witches that they were walking into a trap, but they couldn't form the words with the metal bars around their mouths. Well, what are we waiting for? The Snow Queen screeched. We have a world to conquer. Let's see how long the next chapter is. Hold on. Oh, it's a short one. We can do chapter 10. Chapter 10, The Witches Arrive. By midnight, over 1,000 U.S. Marines had joined General Wilson on Fifth Avenue. The soldiers surrounded the New York Public Library on all four sides, but it was impossible to get close. Whenever a Marine came within 10 feet of the building, he or she was quickly knocked back by one of the lion statues. Even if a soldier was on the opposite side of the structure, a lion would crawl over the building and swat the soldier away before he or she could enter. The general watched the statues from behind a wall of sandbags in the middle of Fifth Avenue. He took a long drag from his 12th cigar of the night and decided it was time to take action. All right, enough cat games, he said to his soldiers. I want both those lions blown to bits. Open fire on them, a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The Marines unleashed tremendous firepower on the national landmarks. Bullets came from all sides and from soldiers on all sides of the library and from snipers stationed on the roofs above nearby. The statues were shot until they crumbled into pieces on the front steps of the library, and they were covered in stony debris. Hold your fire, the general ordered, and the shooting ceased. Inspect the damage. The soldier ran up the front steps of the library and examined the debris. All clear, he called out. Good, the general said. Now send the platoon to find the girl. If she resists arrest or retaliates with assault, you are to terminate her immediately. That's an order. Do you copy? Sir, yes, sir, the soldiers responded. As the platoon charged up the library's front steps, they came to a sudden halt. As if the destruction of the statues were being rewound before their eyes, the debris magically reassembled piece by piece until both lion statues were fully formed again, and the felines weren't happy. The lions roared with such gusto that many of the soldiers' helmets flew off. With one powerful blow, the platoon was knocked down the library steps and the soldiers rolled back into the street. Holy reincarnation, the general said, and the cigar fell from his mouth. In over 6 decades of serving the United States Armed Forces, General Wilson had never encountered anything like this. The stone felines were putting up the greatest defense he had ever witnessed. Suddenly, all 3 double doors at the library's entrance were blasted open from the inside. Alex and the witches emerged and stood on the front steps with the lions. The witches looked around Fifth Avenue in wonder. The other world was so much bigger and brighter than they'd thought. They expected a world similar to their own, but instead they were standing in a metropolis of lights and concrete beyond their wildest dreams. The soldiers looked to one another with the same dumbfounded expression. Where did they all come from? General Wilson picked up a megaphone to speak to the mysterious women.
This is the United States Marine Corps General Gunther Wilson,
He said.
Whoever you are and wherever you came from, you are interfering in a matter of national security. Put your hands up and come quietly or you'll be taken by force.
The witches shared the cackle, unaware of who the soldiers were or what they were capable of. You heard the man, sisters, the Snow Queen screeched. It's time to put our hands up. The witch raised her hands into the air, and hundreds of enormous icicles shot up from the ground. They were so sharp that they flattened the tires of all the Hummers on the street and nearly impaled many of the soldiers. Attack! The Snow Queen screeched. The other world is ours! The witches squealed in celebration, and their invasion began. The sea witch rode her rogue wave around the library and threw pieces of coral at the nearby soldiers. The coral latched onto their uniforms and grew rapidly around their bodies, binding their arms and legs. Rat Mary placed open palms on the ground and closed her eyes. She whispered a spell to summon all the rats in the area. To her surprise, thousands of rodents crawled out of the sewers and drains and trash cans and subways and joined her on the front steps of the library. She directed them towards the soldiers, and the rats pounced like a plague of locusts. Arborists pointed to all the trees beside the library steps. All the leaves flew from the branches into the air and rained down on the soldiers. The leaves poked and stung the soldiers like a swarm of killer bees. Smoke steamed out of Charcoline's ears, and the cracks of her ashy skin filled with magma. A fiery geyser erupted from her mouth like a volcano, and she aimed the blast at the general. He and his soldiers dived out of the way, and their wall of sandbags exploded. The Marines had never been trained for such attacks. They were so shocked by the witch's magic they were practically paralyzed and didn't know how to retaliate. Sir, what do we do? A soldier asked the general. Shoot them, the general ordered. Shoot them all! The witches didn't recognize the weapons the Marines were aiming in their direction. By the time they realized the objects were firearms, the soldiers had already started firing. A split second before the witches would have been shot and slaughtered on the steps of the library, Alex raised a hand and the bullets bounced off a magical force field. When the general realized the soldiers were wasting their bullets, he motioned for them to hold their fire. The Marines lowered their weapons and stared at Alex's magic in amazement. The sea witch picked a steaming bullet up off the ground with one of her claws and examined it with her large black eyes. The other world is not the same place it was when we discovered it, she said with a nasty scowl. The sea witch held the bullet to the Snow Queen's nose. The blind witch smelled it and her brow tightened. Leave involved, she screeched. Where is Marina? Why didn't she warn us about this development? The witches looked around the front steps of the entrance hall of the library. Marina was nowhere to be found. She tricked us, Rat Mary yelled. Marina sent us to our death, Charcoline moaned. How could she betray us like this? Serpentine hissed. Silence, you fools, the Snow Queen ordered. We will not perish because of Marina or any human of the other world. We weren't prepared for this battle, but mark my words, by sundown we'll be ready for war. All we need is a place to retreat until we regain our strength. The sea witch looked up Fifth Avenue and pointed to the southeast corner of Central Park in the distance. Look, up there, she said. It's a forest. I say we take cover in the woods until we are ready. Yes, perfect, the Snow Queen screeched and turned to Alex. Lead the way. At the witch's command, Alex clapped her hands and all the remaining soldiers went flying out of their way. She snapped her fingers and all the Hummers and police vehicles, lampposts and street signs, the trash cans and everything else in their path disintegrated into piles of ash. In one swift procession, the witches, lion statues, and Alex marched up Fifth Avenue towards Central Park. Once they arrived, Alex waved her hand through the air and a massive force field surrounded the entire park like a shimmering, rippling dome. The Marines tried to follow the witches into the park, but Alex's shield electrocuted anyone who got near it. No one was going in or out. Alex, the lion statues, and all the witches continued their march into the heart of Central Park and disappeared from the Marines' sight. The soldiers thought that they had seen just about everything with the moving statues, but clearly the spectacle had only just begun. "Your orders, sir?" a soldier asked the general. General Wilson didn't respond. He was just as stunned by the night's events as the rest of the Marines. He was going to need help with the situation, and there was only one person who he could get it from. "Sir, your orders?" "I'm thinking, Sergeant, I'm thinking," the general snapped as he paced. "The whole island of Manhattan needs to be evacuated at once. Call the Pentagon and tell them we need backup. We need as many boots on the ground as possible." "Yes, sir," the soldier responded. "Oh, and Sergeant," the general said, "one more thing, and this is the most important order of all. Find Cornelia Grimm immediately." Oh boy. Oh boy. Find Cornelia Grimm. I know, Anya, it's true. It is true. Crispy Wilded. All right, that is all for today. There might be a slime live later depending on if I can find glue at some local stores. My shipments of glue haven't come yet, but if I can find it at local stores, we will have a slime live later, making some base and things like that. What else? That's kind of it. They should stop hiding the glue for me, it's true. What else was I gonna say? If you're new here, I wrote a book. It's called The Prince of Oregon. Feel free to purchase it on all the places. That's pretty much it. I will see you all later. And I think that's all the kitten caboodles for the day. Did you mail my slime yet? I think so, Rosie, but let me double check. Either I did or it's still in the bin going to the post office today. One of the two. I'll have to check, Rosie, because I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. I think it might be gone, to be honest. I don't know. Depends on if I packed it before I went to the post office yesterday. Okay. All right. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.